Welcome back to Pottery with Patrick. Today we're going to work on some slab pottery. Alright, so here we go. Just like before, we'll start out with a ball of clay. We'll squeeze that ball of clay until it's kind of like a hamburger patty, just like we've done many other times. Once we get it to being a hamburger patty, we'll grab our rolling pin and start rolling it. We're going to roll it back and forth in both directions. Remember to stretch it along the axes. That's going to ensure that when we do finally cut into it, it's not going to warp or twist on us, and it's going to make sure that our seams don't pull apart. We're going to take a minute, roll it back and forth. I started with about 1.5 pounds of clay, so there's quite a lot of clay here to roll out. Flipping it back and forth so that it doesn't crack on the seams, and just stretching it as we roll it until we get it to being roughly about 1/4 inch thick. All right, good. So once we have it 1/4 inch thick, we're going to lay it out and we're going to start cutting our slabs out of it. This is kind of like what we did with the coil, except we're going to cut in straight lines. We're going to use our clay knife as an impromptu straight edge, and we're just going to cut straight across the slab. Hang on to those other two pieces, we'll use them a little bit later. This slab was big enough because it was about 1.5 pounds that I'm going to be able to get 2 of our cups out of it. So I'm going to cut it to where we have 2 of those long slabs, and we'll make a cup out of each. I'll set that one aside, and we'll start with our first one here. Now, a little trick you can do is you can fold it over until the ends meet and overlap. Where they overlap, if you make sure it's actually kind of flat and not rounded, you can then take your fettling knife and cut it at a little bit of an angle. That'll make sure that the 2 ends that you end up with actually have the same angle so that they'll seam together very well. Once you do that, you can lay it out and start decorating it. I'm going to use this stamp. It's one of my old wooden stamps and I kind of like it. I'm going to twist it around here so that the pattern alternates a little bit, but hopefully it'll come up with something a little interesting. And I'm going to leave a little space on both ends, and you'll see why here in a minute. So now that I have it decorated, I'm going to go ahead and score both edges of those angles where we cut it earlier. We're going to score it, and then we're just going to wet it. A little bit of water. There we go. Now, we're going to seam it together starting on one end and working our way across. You'll notice while you're doing this that a little bead of slip builds up in that little seam. That is very good. That helps to make sure that no air pockets get caught. Then we're going to take our finger, put it on the inside, and compress it. And then we'll use our stamp to seal it up so that we don't even know where the joint is. Looky there. You want to take a second and smooth the inside as well as the outside. There you go. And then you'll have a pretty nice little slab cup, except it won't hold anything yet. That's where those earlier pieces come in. We're going to take one of those earlier bits that we cut off, and we're going to start making a bottom on it, cutting away all the excess clay that we're not going to use. I started by just cutting the tags off, and then now I'm going to cut around the base. Now that I have the base cut out, I'm going to take and smooth the edges of the little slab, just like we did before with our bottle, and then I'm just going to roll it so that it gets nice and even. There we go. Then I'm going to take my scoring tool, and I'm going to score it from the inside out, assuring that I have a lot of little bitty scratches instead of one big one that goes all the way around. So I've got a lot of little scratches. I'm going to do this on the bottom of the medallion, and then I'm also going to do it on the bottom of the cup. I'm going to score the cup at just a little bit of an angle so that I don't have lines that match up with the medallion, but for the most part, they'll be scored the same. I'm going to take a little water and clean up that inside edge. Then I'm going to hydrate the cup and the medallion and start pressing them together. I'm going to line it and just give it a little bit of a press, a little wiggle and a little press. You'll see it already starts seaming together. And I'm going to go ahead and work it around and compress it. I don't want there to be a seam on this one, so I'm going to go and work around the edge and really smooth that seam of the two pieces out. Be sure that you put the wall of your pot on top of the medallion. Don't wrap the wall around the medallion. It'll pull through if you wrap it around, so be sure to set it on top. Now I'm just going to pat in the middle, so we end up with just a little bit of a donut that the pot's sitting on. I'm going to go ahead and put my name on it. There we go. Hey, looky there. Got a little cup that will hold water this time. Now I'm going to take my fingers and make a pinching motion, and I'm going to work the rim of the pot. This is going to make sure that the top edge of the pot doesn't have any sharp bits and is actually comfortable to drink out of. I'm going to take my time with this because I don't necessarily want to do it super duper fast. And I just want to make that top edge sort of come to a rounded, smooth surface. There we go. And that is how you make a slab cup.